Cool, cool. Let's call the meeting to order and move on with life. What do you think of that?
That sounds good.
Great.
Do you have an agenda?
I do.
I have a change to the agenda. Julie Wilcott will not be here today. She's getting a quote for the west end of the building renovation still, so she wanted to come next week when she had all of her numbers.
Perfect.
And Pat Malone is here instead, not instead, but as well.
Welcome, Pat.
Perfect.
Pat is our grant writer.
Yeah, the replacement act.
I hear it comes with dancing. Is that
Well,
Only in the rain, right?
Uh-oh. So that's all I have in terms of changes to the agenda.
Sweet. Let's have at
I'm first. Is that right?
it. Yeah.
Well, I came by because maybe you don't remember this, but I work for you guys as the town grant writer. And when I came here before you and asked for the job, I was planning on developing that little piece of work for my way to make a living in my retirement, plus do a little something for the town. And I had no clue that my professional life would change as much as it did in the, 14, 15 months since I did that. So as my responsibilities at UVM increased, my time and my mental energy to do anything with a computer or pencil and paper decreased. So I came here to tell you that, my expectations, my personal expectations were not what they were when I presented myself to you, and I'm sure you expected a little more out of me than I'm giving you. So I just wanted to come acknowledge that and tell you that the other part of it is that my retirement has been delayed somewhat from these actions. I built this program I run at UVM, and the college isn't ready to pass it on to somebody else. So they asked me to be around, and my retirement will be either a year from August or at the latest in May of 23. So I wanted to let you guys know that, and to offer up my resignation because I could not do what I said I could do, but at the same time offer you anything that I could do. And I don't even know in the fall, I don't have my schedule set, so I don't even know how much time I'm gonna have. But yeah, that's that. I think I made.
We're not going to accept it.
Here it is in writing.
No.
Just in case it's I didn't want you to, it was way more sophisticated a job hire than I ever imagined. But, I think I did a few good things, although most of what I think were good things were to guide the different groups from spending a lot of time and effort into grants that, somehow didn't fit, and most notably because whoever was asking wasn't really eligible for one way or another. And that's, in my experience with grants, that's always the first thing you look at is who's eligible, who's not, and how much money you're going to be able to get. And I don't think I put in hours in this calendar year, but I did some work.
Yeah, I do think that sometimes just reading through grants, having an eye for what you're looking for and the time to find what you're looking for is hard. So you did do that for people. You went through and you looked and you found and you talked about what you found, and that was helpful.
Yeah, and I did talk to people, the people at the granting agencies, the state, and a couple other people. So I did do that. Hopefully that was a little save some time and aggravation. But that's where I'm at, and it's up to you.
Do you have interest in doing it, or is it just you have enough other things going on that
I
you'd rather not
I
be
do have an
involved
interest in doing it.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, like this past semester, a person in my position teaches 12 credits a semester, and I had to teach 18. And then I had to teach until the end of June instead of the beginning of May. And I don't have the person hired to teach that course in the fall, so I don't know how much I'm working come the end of August. But I mean, I'd be happy to, you know, if Kathy or whoever sends me some information, or if I end up having time, I'd be happy to continue. It's just I can't make a commitment at least until probably, you know, the end of August, and then it'd be,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's still kind of hit and miss at the end of August. I mean,
Well, I could let you know by the end of August what would last until the beginning of January, and then I'd find out my semester schedule. And then by then I'll find out if I'm retiring a year from August or.
yeah. So basically you're looking at a year. I mean, you can do some hit and miss
Yeah,
from now and then to January and figure out your
Yeah.
schedule, but
yeah.
in order to commit to doing it, and I'm just thinking, there's a lot of grants out there. There's a lot, not that we're missing but you don't have time. Would it be worth us looking for somebody who's interested in, whether it's on a, you know, who knows what kind of arrangement you do, if it's a, like,
Well,
you know,
that's what I wanted to, you know, if the need is to find another grant writer, then I'm 100% supportive, and I'm not going away. So if you want me to be involved in things, I could help you as best I can. But I just need that,
No, I
that
think
commitment piece.
that would be ideal. Just like you said, another set of eyes to read it over, familiar with it, line things up. But I don't know that we can go.
You know, how about this, a grant advisor? Like, we could look for a grant, right? We could look, you know, start a search for a grant writer, but your skill set, and just as you articulate, you know, grant advisor, that's an area that I don't have any expertise in,
Yeah.
but you could help us maybe with the search, and, you know, in whatever capacity you have for helping us, you know.
I mean, if you're interested, because a grant writer is not something you find under every rock you flip over. If we find somebody who just needs a nudge, is that something you'd be willing to say, hey, you know, these are the people you gotta, or this is the direction you need to go with that grant?
I'd be happy to do that. Happy to continue however you would want me to, but I just didn't want.
No, we understand.
I wanted to be clear.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, no, and I think we're doing the same thing. We want to feel you out. We don't want to kick you aside because you show interest in it. This is
Yeah.
not something you find all the time. So
Yeah, and believe me, I am itching to retire. So if they call me tomorrow, then it's okay, you know. So
Kath, what do you think? Like, could he help you to advise, like, the rec? I'm just thinking, like, the rec committee and the historical.
I think that what we need is a person who is available to write the grants.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
really more about the act
Right.
of getting that work done. And there have been some grants that I've been looking at, and it would be really nice to have somebody who's really on there. The ones that are coming through now are much less complicated than some of the ones that came before. Very direct, clear, obviously in line with what we need. But yeah, meeting deadlines and making sure that we have somebody on to actually do that writing work. And in the meantime, I can write grants. I've written over $1 million in grants over my career. So, but it takes time outside of my work to do that.
Yeah. Well, let's take your, you know, courtesy heads up on your status. Keep you in the, you know, in the web for advising us, especially in the areas of grants. Kick off a search for a grant writer to assist you, and you do what you can, Kathy.
do you have any recommendations? Do you know anybody else that does that sort of work?
I don't.
Not really.
No, you know, I think the person who had it before me they worked 20 hours a week or something like that, and I think they did other things for the town that I wasn't.
So was
able to commit
Jonathan
to.
before you, and he was doing that apparently outside of his contract, and then, before that was Melanie Riddle, who's the zoning director.
The zoning person, yeah.
Yeah, she's
Well, here
great,
it
but
is.
she has a young family, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We could ask her if she's interested.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming and seeing us.
Yeah.
Good luck with your,
I will be
Responsibilities.
back as soon as I find out. How's that sound? I'll come and you could do
Sure.
that. But here is something official. If you, I don't know if you really rejected that or not, but I just didn't want you to be in a employer-employee pickle with me. Like I'm gonna come back and sue you for wrongful dismissal or something. I might come back and say wrongful hiring.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so.
Nope, appreciate it.
So we're good?
yeah, we're good.
I'm a grant advisor.
Yeah, grant advisor. You wanna go on regional planning? We have a vacancy in regional planning. One meeting a month.
That's how they hook.
That's how
I
they-
will come back and as soon as I find out my fall schedule.
Okay.
How's that? I will let you know.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very
Great to
much.
see you, Pat.
So are you taking that or?
Yeah,
not?
we'll take
Okay,
that.
yeah, so
Thank you.
grant advisor. So I'm the ex-grant writer and brand new.
Not
Grant
thanks, you're
advisor.
promoted.
Oh,
Not sure which way that
There's no
goes.
income, no salary, but you're promoted.
do I get a reserved parking spot or?
Yeah, there's a whole
Special
lot full of
recognition
reserved
at
spots down here.
our town meeting, you'll get special recognition. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Pat.
Keep up the good work, everybody.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
you, Pat.
See ya.
Thank you.
And call me for advice.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Pat.
much.
Take care.
See ya.
Yeah. How you doing, Mom?
Good, good.
Like your shirt.
Back from your trip already?
Yeah.
I thought you were going
3,
for
4
a while.
o'clock. Good for you. Head up. Went up Friday, got back. 3 o'clock, 3, 4 o'clock today.
Good for you. Any excitement on the road?
You get your,
No.
you get your new backup
Tomorrow.
tomorrow?
Yeah, he called me. Kurt did. He just asked because whoever trucks it for him, I don't know the address.
Yeah.
I said, come in today, because I was down there with those boys know. Get out. Yeah. Said, no, I'll be tomorrow. I said, oh, okay.
You're excited?
Very nice weather. Nice weather. They- Nice about it. 40 minutes away from where we stayed at hotel. Bust us over. Open
Nice.
bar and trucked us back.
Oh, boy.
That's a necessity.
That's necessary.
Man, you're gonna have to
Crawl to the bus.
even if you're dead so trying to drive on those roads down there. You know, you like been down to Connecticut. Yeah,
It's not
Where'd you
much
go?
time.
Connecticut.
Where?
Was it Hartford?
Hartford?
Just
Okay,
Hartford. Yeah, Hartford here, and it's glad something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we're in motel. Yeah, we gotta get through that. We're coming home.
Oh,
Hey, they like the roads in Fairfield.
no.
Or Vermont. Mowing, you saw that. Yeah.
Not many dirt roads down there.
None. In fact,
Not
we
one.
didn't have weather until 4 o'clock last night. So, yeah, in the morning, day to work on. Got some nice farms out there. That's fine.
Yeah, big horse farms down
Yeah, we'll say a lot more horse farms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured it'd be all cement and blacktop by winter, you know, what you just.
Just get outside of the city a little bit.
A lot of nice area down there.
there.
What do you got for us?
We talked about sand there last week, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
whatever it was. Wright's, $15 a yard. That's delivered. And Horgan is $10 a yard, and we drop. And what you've been doing is, what, 1/3 and 2/3, Roger, or Horgan 2/3, I don't, guys wanna stay with that, or you want just wanna go with one bid here, or?
How, What were the prices last year, just out of curiosity? Wasn't far from that, was it?
No, I think 12 and 7.
So it didn't, okay, so it went up.
Yeah.
Fairfield, yeah.
We all know what everything else been.
Which stands the best?
They're both are great, yeah, yeah. Yeah, apples to apples, I guess.
So it's $15 truck and $10 U truck.
Yeah, we jump.
Has James done the math on that? I know he's done all kinds of stuff done. I'd be curious if he thinks we can truck it for 5.
No, I doubt it. Cost you more than that for fuel, wouldn't it?
No, it depends, it's, what, $75
That's a gallon of fuel.
No, yeah. No, I know what fuel is.
Yeah, it's a gallon a yard. Right, but you're putting 14 on
Right,
it.
putting 14.
15, we draw 15.
15.
I'm saying that, just to be where you guys.
Yeah. Good. What works best for you guys? I mean, well, we don't have to decide tonight, but
Do you guys want
I'd be curious. Ask,
to kick, what do we call it? Table it,
yeah,
or
I'd be curious. Ask James, just because James has got, like, you stop and pick his brain. He knows the average miles per gallon on them trucks, plowing, loaded, hours per year, miles per year. There's a lot of information in it. It'd just be curious.
But you guys all know that haul there on those trucks ain't hard, you know. Ain't like pulling Psalms Hill, it's
all downhill loaded.
level, right, you get loaded and you come out, just one little grab there, the rest of it pretty, so it ain't like the trucks are pulling Psalms Hill for miles an hour, that's what you use fuel.
Yeah.
You know,
In the past, you've split it up.
Yep, and it's, we 3 yards, not 3 yards. If, you know, everything go, if you get loaded and get down, get back, or 3 loads an hour, you know,
That's not bad.
right, you know.
Yeah.
Let's, yeah, we'll have to decide tonight on that. I might pick James's mind just to be interesting to know.
When do you usually start drawing?
Yeah, probably did the bid tonight, said probably won't draw tomorrow because they're blacktopping over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you, they started
right on
today.
Yeah. I had a couple calls on that, so go there later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So, would be soon, you know.
Right.
You know, they're piling it over there, so get it where they can get onto the gravel they want to do. So. What do you guys wanna do?
Table it for right now, I think. It's not doesn't have to be done this minute. Probably by next meeting, we probably should do it so you guys can haul when you get time.
Yeah, because we've got, what's the name coming in July 1st, don't we? St. Ange?
St. Ange is coming, not July 1st. We just posted FEMA had a 15-day post that they needed us to put up and put into the newspaper. It came, and I put it in on Thursday, so 15.
From this Thursday to when?
From this last Thursday. So they're coming, they should be starting the week of July 11th, which is later than we wanted.
Yeah.
The pre-construction meeting is scheduled for this Friday at 9:30 with John Little from Stantec, and he sent you an email, so I'm hoping that you can be there.
Yeah, give me a time because I can't get on queue. People over there now.
So it's 9:30 on Friday, and if you want to come, if you want to come, we can have 2 select board members come along too.
I'd like to go. I got a retirement party, retirement golf outing. Friday.
Golf is good.
Retired guys, something at 9:30 on Friday morning.
That's 8 o'clock.
Where is it, Kath?
Which one?
The 9:30,
It's here,
oh, here?
yeah,
Oh, here, okay.
on this Friday.
I'm gonna be staying on Jewelry Road.
That's the
There may
kickoff
be,
of the,
yeah, it's the pre-construction meeting, so he'll be going through all the details.
Yeah.
Somebody from, St. Ange will be there, I'll be there, hopefully Mo will be there, Stantec will be there. We invited Chris Burnell, he can't make it, but he sent his regrets. I reached out to, the Vermont FEMA person, what's her name? Can't remember her name right now, but she said that she doesn't do anything at this level, so.
Good. So they're paving East Fairfield.
Just, I won't tell you, they must start it this afternoon, somebody said, I don't know, ever around. I know it rained this morning, I know that.
Oh, Pikes in there.
Yes.
Do we happen to have a contact for them, Kathy?
Or Stantec?
No, like paving.
They do.
I had a couple of residents in East Fairfield send me a picture.
I don't
And
have it with me, I can go.
they drove through their paving, the guys directed them around the paver or whatever, and the asphalt like melted right into their tires.
Oh, no.
Those stones melted in.
I'll go look at my car then. 'Cause
That's
I
all they got.
I was over there, I went over to see
I want to see it. Yeah.
I get the estimator on here. That might be a place to start for the,
What's her?
That's true, I called it out. Yeah, he'd be a good
Brett
one to start
Garner.
with.
Brett, yeah.
Never seen
He's
that.
Brett?
Brett.
Okay.
Put his number on there, do it?
yeah, it is. You wanna put the number?
Yeah, please. We had a call, Linda had somebody, she forwarded to me the other day that drove through a construction site and got a flat tire.
Yeah, if the same phone call I got on a machine Old Town Garage, it was a construction site in Fairfield on Route 36.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
That was where they set it on the phone and stuff. It's where that bridge being put in. So I called the number back, I directed to District 8, about all I could do.
Yep, got it. So, I'll forget.
I got $90 tire it was.
I've
Yeah, it was-
worked around paving a lot. I mean, not as much as you, but I spent 2 summers on the interstate watching them pave, and I never saw
I never seen that
a
either.
tire like that.
So I gotta look up right there. Cause I went up there to Tom's Farm, they're up the back.
Yep.
And, said by Jack Blake when she pointed me over, I asked the guy for which side, he told me. Left, where it's a hard blacktop, you're down there, and she pointed me over. So,
Yeah.
Is that
and they were coming up over the black, people coming up, that, by Morris,
Yep.
and they're coming up. You could hear a sting to your tire. I figured it was undercoat, different car.
Yeah.
Moist cars. Okay, good. So we table that for this week.
I don't know if you wanna talk about the, paying for the backhoe options that we have before Mo leaves, but that might be something.
What is it?
So the equipment purchase, when we have, so we have a backhoe coming tomorrow. We can pay for the backhoe. I'm suggesting that we take money out of our, if we take it out of the CD, the equipment CD, we'll still have a balance. And we're going to be putting more into that CD. So I think that it would make sense for us to take it out of there currently, due to the fact that we're in that window of time where, we don't wanna pull down directly from our tax anticipation loan too much. The CD matures, next week, so we can pull down from that next week. Currently, the balance is 47,000. balance, on the 22nd was $143,234. When we take the freight liner down payment, which we agreed earlier it was $51,325. We're going to have a balance of $91,909, and the cost of the backhoe is $63,000. So if we took it out directly out of the CD, we would be able to still have a balance of $28,909. We could take it out of ARPA, but again, the next ARPA installment doesn't come until September, and we're in that weird time. You know, I think we want to be careful to where we're taking the money from at this point. So what are your thoughts on that?
What we talked about last time, we talked about using the CD.
We talked about using ARPA, but you had asked me to bring some options, and after looking at the options, this is, I think, the best idea. This is what I would suggest, purely because the ARPA funds, the next installment doesn't come until September, and we just took out a $600,000 tax anticipation loan in the last meeting. So I think it makes sense we have a balance here that could cover the cost.
Yes.
I think it's reasonable. Thank you for doing all the work here. I'm curious, our ARPA balance isn't zero right now though, right? We have...
The balance is not zero, there was no, at the time that we received ARPA last year, there were restrictions on how we could organize that money. We couldn't put it into a CD, and it was never put into a separate account. It was set in separate accounting in NEMRIC, but at the bank, we don't have a separate account for that money. So the money was in our operating fund and accounted for in our NEMRIC, so that we know what we're paying for and how. So at the moment, we're waiting for the next installment, and then that will be helpful to get us through.
It's kind of commingled, so it would be cleaner to do this.
I think at this point.
And then we can...
Just because of the timing.
Right.
Purely because of the timing. And I also saw last year that the carryover money from the 2020 operating fund surplus was not transferred at the bank. It was only detailed in our accounting system. So the actual transfer of $112,000 was not made to the CD last year. It was just accounted in our
This account.
that should have been in this account. So as soon as we have our tax money, we'll be able to transfer that money, and it'll in the CD, and it will end up being more.
So that 112 got left in the general fund and is.
And it should have been transferred at the bank. It was only accounted for.
Right. So we never told the bank to move it.
We never told the bank to move it.
I make a motion. I make a motion that we use a balance of, I think I'm gonna make a motion for $63,000 for the cost of the 2016 backhoe loader/loader out of our equipment CD account. That's my motion.
That's correct.
I'll second it.
Discussion, Brian motioned to use $63,000 out of equipment CD account to pay for the backhoe. Ron seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
There's no minimum balance here, right?
There is no minimum balance. We just want to make sure we don't, we have money in there. I did not include, I didn't know whether you were going to pass this or not, so I didn't include it in AP. But with this motion, I believe I could transfer that money and issue a check and put it in the next AP. But you're gonna need to give me permission to put this, to issue a check to be, so that we can give it to them, to him early. He's gonna be here, tomorrow with the thing?
Yeah.
He's patient. I've talked to him on the phone. He said that he could wait until the next meeting if you want to just wait and sign it in the next AP. Or
Yeah,
I
let's do
can
it.
issue a check.
Let's do it that way. Let's do it clean.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not a big deal. He knows it's coming.
okay. Thank you.
What other excitement you got, Mo?
Remember?
You checked any roads today? After that was quite a downpour this morning,
I
right?
thought it said, I was down there downpouring too.
Oh, you
I was in
just got
Hartford.
back? Oh, you literally
Yeah,
just got.
Man,
it was quite a-
10:30.
It was quite a gusher.
Over my mother's road there, see where it came down the road there, so I figured it came down hard.
Yeah, no, it came down real hard.
Yeah.
That beautiful job on Mackenzie Road has been a little bit muddled, but they did a great job. But it was pretty rugged. This is the hardest rain I've seen in a long time.
How was the grading? Are you doing much grading right
Yeah,
now?
I was
or is
going
it-
around hitting those flat spots.
I had somebody. I love this. Here, my tires got melted today. Hey, I need grading. Call Mo.
Yeah, you know, tax time, when people paying their taxes, don't stop the
Yep.
store to get gas in your car.
Yeah.
That's why their taxes so much, because I'm buying gas for my car.
Is,
Oh yeah, you hear it all.
I see you got 1,000 gallon, a big tank that you bought. It was in the worms. Can I see those things?
There's my no thing.
There's a tank in there for $1,000.
Grader's working good.
Yeah, they just,
1,000 gallon storage tank. What's that?
Oh, that's the oil, the cost of gas and oil that
Oh,
goes
okay,
into the
okay.
into the storage
Yeah.
tank.
I thought, see, you filled you, I fuel tank, yeah.
No, it says gallon storage tank. I thought it was a storage tank.
No,
It's filling them up.
Okay.
no. I think the last time I see it was 5 something, 529. We're paying,
That's what you're paying over here.
yeah, see, I signed a slip there
Yeah.
for our fuel, it's 520, I'm pretty sure 520. Yeah.
And we have, I'm gonna talk to you about it at our budget discussion, but we're at about 110, we've exceeded our, expected budget for fuel, oil, and all of the, by 100. We've spent all of it, plus 10%. So we've spent about 55,000, and that was how much we had for everybody.
Wow.
And now we're gonna have to figure out the next part of the year. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to do with Mo here?
So I don't know if you wanna talk about the grant anticipation loan for Jouer Road now, at this point. I did talk to, the bank, Sue Cross, and she said that a 600,000 grant anticipation loan for 1 year would be 1.75 as a fixed rate. And, I asked Jonathan how long it usually takes for a turnaround on the grants, like when do we get reimbursed? And he said it's taking them about 6 months to a year. So he suggested that we go for a year loan, 600,000 at 1.75%.
And that's for Jouer.
Jouer,
contractor.
it covers St. Onge, Stantec, and some incidentals or miscellaneous. That's and then of course we have the 186,654 that we already pulled out of the capital CD for this, so altogether it should cover.
And what's that rate? You just said the bank quotes what?
The bank quoted us 1.75% fixed rate for a $600,000 loan for 1 year.
Really? Like
Yeah.
why? I mean, that sounds like a pretty attractive rate. I'd like a little bit of that.
I think because it's a guarantee. If we have the grant, it's a guarantee turnaround. Just
Still,
like
I'm shocked. That's a pretty,
the tax anticipation loan rate was 1.6%.
wow. It's pretty favorable when the inflation's at
Yeah, when things
9%.
to be fixed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion, or do you?
When do we need this?
I
What's
do,
our-
well, you know, I was thinking about that. I think that we could probably put it off another week if you wanted to.
What, how does rate,
I'm not sure when the invoices are gonna start coming in, but, it should be soon.
Why don't we make the
how will they
motion
hold
in
the rate?
anticipation of the, I mean, you know, maybe we don't,
It-
let's give you the authority and,
That rate's not gonna go down in the next 2 weeks. If
No.
anything, we'll gain another couple percent or tenths on it. So
Right.
we've got to have a loan to cover it. Heat, what's their upfront? Is it 30%?
For heat, did you say?
No, what's for before they start the project? They're gonna want.
I haven't, actually, I'm not sure. I didn't see that they had something like that in their contract. But I
Stantec
didn't-
must have invoices that are.
Not yet. We haven't received any invoices, but if we could get it sooner than later, that will make my heart feel
yeah,
better.
I'll make a motion now, yeah. Is it $600,000? I make a
600.
motion that we authorize the withdrawal, we authorize executing the loan for $600,000 with which bank? Which
People's
People's Trust,
Company.
for the capital, for the funding of the Joar Road capital project.
I'll second that. You wanna put the percentage rate in the motion, 1.75%,
They're pretty solid, yeah.
People's
in case it's
Trust.
gone to
Sure.
3%.
Yeah.
For 1 year.
1 year, yep.
Ryan motion to authorize a grant anticipation loan with People's Trust Bank at 1.75% for 1 year.
You get dollar amount there?
600,000.
Keep doing these $600,000 loans.
I
That's,
know.
Ron second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do you have another road thing that you wanted to say? I thought you started to say something. Okay, the only other thing is that the North Road, this is, I'm just the messenger. North Road Structures Grant that we talked about last week, that was at $175,000. We made a motion to accept that amount of money for that, grant. When I called back, it has gone down to $142,172, which is, now with the total project cost, it's $32,000 less than we had originally requested. And the total, I don't have the amount, the total amount, but I have all of the, it's 168.94, so.
So
the
just
question-
accept it and
Yeah.
we're, the
Accept it
plan is to
anyway.
accept it.
On the same logic of our discussion, I totally agree, Dave.
Okay,
Yeah, just.
okay, just because the number changed, I wanted to make
Right.
sure that it
And
was
we can reevaluate,
later.
Right.
subject to,
Okay, so just so you know, currently we're at number 34 on the list, and we had 6 districts ahead of us this year. By accepting that money, next year we'll be at 29. We don't know how many people are gonna apply, but it's gonna bump us down to the bottom. So we're not gonna be ahead anymore. So that's just
May
a
not be
heads up.
anything available next year,
Yeah.
so just,
Okay,
same discussion we had, just
Yep.
sign up for it, take what they'll give us, we'll reevaluate as we get closer to moving dirt.
okay, will do. And that's it for roads at this point. Although, I mean, the Freightliner is arriving, about July 4th, so we should have it in August, the beginning of August, that's what I've heard.
We're not.
No, we're not getting it, we should see it at the beginning of August at some point. Just an update.
Good.
All set, you all set?
Yeah. I'm sure you've had enough riding around, you're ready to go home, sleep in your own bed.
Yeah.
Do we want mull around for the part of the discussion around the budget that has to do with roads? We're gonna have a budget discussion? I mean, I don't know if that's necessary.
I don't know, I think
We talked a little earlier, so I kind of feel like.
you wanna sit around and run through that right now? I think at this point, it's just informational, just looking at numbers and.
Yeah. Too many clips.
Well, you can see why some municipalities are limiting patrols and, you know, saying we don't have police protection because we can't put gas in the car. It's pretty crazy
Yeah, it is
stuff.
pretty-
Yeah, it's,
Pretty bad.
it's a tough time, but it's a good one.
So, on the back, I clipped to this, the heat and, I pulled out so that we could see the heat and fuel, accounts, how much we budgeted, actual, current balance, and then last year, you know, comparatively, what it looked like at this point. Last year, we had spent 51% of our budget, which is about where we're supposed to be. This year, we've spent 117% of our budget, which is, so, you know, assuming that we're halfway, we're gonna need to figure out how to get 55, where out of the budget we might wanna find $55,000, which I think is probably doable. I think that we're in a good spot, in a good place in terms of, other things, so I think we can probably figure it out.
So we anticipate another 55,000 for the rest of the year?
Like assuming, so I looked back on a few years, assuming that the last few years is about accurate in terms of where we are percentage-wise.
Right.
We're usually at about 50%, so
Yeah.
50%, we usually expended 50% of our fuel.
Right.
Budget, this year we spent 117%, so I'm assuming that we're gonna need at least $55,000 moving forward too, because, you know,
Right.
so, that's just a side note, and it's embedded in the budget, but
Yeah.
I wanted to pull that out and just.
So can I ask one question?
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
on this, when it says, budget and an actual, the budget, is that a budget for half of the year, or is that the entire
That's
year?
the entire year budget approved by the voters for this year. We upped it, from 30,000 last year to 47,000, and we've spent total,
That's a big difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
total 55,000 for the year at this point, which is half of what we need, I think, estimating based on years
That's,
past.
it
Significant.
was just, you think about our homeowners, our senior citizens that are gonna be going through the same,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
And this is why, and I think in our last meeting, I was saying, you know, we may wanna think about ARPA for some of these things, because we did accept that funding and made a motion to use it as we see fit for the operations of our town. And this is the operations of our town as much as anything else, so.
So let's,
something
my
to think
thought on the budget stuff now, let's
Yeah.
not look at the weeds, right?
Yeah.
Let's take
Right.
a look at overall, I mean, this is important, this is where we're gonna
Right.
head, but
This is
that's
one of the,
50,000 out of
it's just a
a
one
lot
piece,
bigger.
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do budget status update, is that what we're gonna do right now?
Yeah, so total expenditures to date of the actual budget is 47%. So we're in terms of just flipping right to the back, looking at the bottom line. You know, we're at a good place in terms of what we've spent
So that's 47%.
of the total
As of-
approved budget.
Okay,
as
what page are you on?
Very back.
Before this.
Backside.
Before,
Back.
yeah. Just right on the back there.
Okay, 47.16%?
Yeah. So that's the total.
Which is consistent with a historical, right? I
Right,
mean, that's-
exactly. So we're in, you know, not looking at this micro piece, but just pulling it out. It's important for me to just share, that's where the weirdness is. But overall, we're at a good place in terms of where we've been in the past and where we are right now. If we wanna skip to the, roads, just going right to the roads for most present. That is on page 7 and 6. There it is. It starts on page 6, halfway down. A couple things that you might want to notice is that we, just COVID hit, I think, this winter, Mo, for your staff and for people here. So sick leave is high for this time of the year. Overtime to cover that is high. So that's just something to consider.
That's very small. I mean,
Yeah, it is small.
It's pieces and parts, but
Yeah.
it's.
Just overall, that's, the salt piece, you'll see that, so the winter sand, we talked, Mo and I talked, it sounds like most of that comes out in the fall, so that's why it's a 0%. We haven't actually spent it yet.
I see materials were up over our budget already.
Which line did you see?
What's this?
Summer maintenance, right?
Oh, summer maintenance, yeah, so,
4,000 over.
yeah, so that's gravel stone, plant mix, which I found out is actually not, anyway, it's from the plant. They are a mix of stones that are all mixed up in different kinds, different sizes.
But at the bottom, we're not too bad.
Yeah, they're not good, they're not bad at the bottom, and Mo said that there's some of this that's stockpiled already, and then there's others that's gonna come. So we're at the top of page 7 there, Mo, under summer maintenance.
Yeah, shoot.
So the materials, that's mostly stone and mud. The spring,
Yeah, that's where.
Your paving's gonna be over here.
Yep.
Yeah, so the contract that we have is 197,254, and we budgeted 155,000, so again, 42,000 off.
Right.
Do you foresee a lot of material stuff for the work that you're doing this summer?
Yeah, we got those goes out of the grant, so.
Yeah.
We got one in Jewelry Hill and Blackland Road and down here by, what's his name, Bruce and
Yeah.
Hardis.
Right, but those are going
Those should be all in the grants.
grants. Yeah.
Reimburse. I moved some, so I decided, I don't know if this was, I think this is the good thing to do, but we put asphalt in the construction roads materials line, which is 10, 7, 30, 47 there. So it's not the gravels and stone like from the summer maintenance, but all of the asphalt is in that number.
And 3047?
Sorry, it's so the material is 10, 7, 30, 47, yeah. 20, we budgeted 25,000, we spent 6,773, and that's all asphalt at this point.
Oh, for patching jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Is that where it's typically going, do you know?
You know, I'm not sure, but the only other option was to put it into the summer maintenance line that's already overspent, so
No, I think that's fine.
I think it made sense.
Yeah.
Check and see if you can figure out where it goes. Because if it's maintenance, I'd rather leave it
We
and
did,
see. At the end of the day, we
I hear you.
can account balance and play with that
we
number.
did change things around so that gravel is now also in construction roads instead of, it's pulled out, you'll notice we did that, we added
Right.
that line this year.
During budgeting.
Yeah, during budgeting.
I just want to make sure going forward.
I'll double
because
check.
Otherwise, you look at it, why is it
Yep,
off?
yeah. Okay.
Either way, it's
Yep.
not the end of the world.
In terms of equipment, so you'll notice that 81,000 was transferred, that's the FY 2021 surplus transferred to equipment. I worked with Nemrick on specifically how we were gonna handle that, because last year we didn't, the way that the accounting, like I mentioned before, the accounting was done was not correct. And they said we should never pull directly from a fund balance line in Nemrick. It's all just accounting, really. With this transfer, what we'll be able to see when we look at the balance sheet at the end of the year, the balance sheet records our actual surplus. So it says, you know, this surplus took place last year, and it shows up in our balance sheet, and then it tells us how much money is left. So even though this is accounted for here, it's actually pulled from our surplus directly. And we did not know what that surplus was until the end of the audit, which took place, you know, mid-January, so.
I thought our surplus was 112.
No, that was 2020. 2020, and that was accounted, it was an accounting, it was accounted for, but it wasn't necessarily actually deposited. So this is the money that we actually deposited into the CD. And then our truck payment, our final payment is February 2023. And that debt retirement, those two lines there under equipment are the payment that took place in February this year.
So equipment out of total is at 92.
Right, and that's because of the 81,000 transfer. But if you look at each of the lines, we're in a good place with all of them. So labor is good, you know. We're 50 to 54, 44. You know, we're in a good place.
Okay, that's what it like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was as of 6/21, today at 3 o'clock, or
Yeah, I did this today.
6/27?
Yeah. It does not include the AP that hasn't been AP or payroll hasn't been transferred yet. I transfer that to the general ledger tomorrow. So all of that will come out as well.
Anything you see coming up, Mo, that's gonna take a big hit on this stuff? Because we have enough fluoride to get us through half the summer, or you gonna spend another $8,000 on that, or what?
Chloride, yeah, about $4,500 more.
How many loads do you typically get? I just out of curiosity.
12, 14.
That's not much.
Yeah. Got a tank right now. I think we're gonna be scraping the rug road. That's getting pretty mean too.
Yes, that's the one I got a text about.
Yeah, and we'd be putting some chloride on it, that's gonna be a thing now.
Yeah.
We ordered our load, be $4,500 there.
The chloride, we're halfway through the budget on that. So we'll be over on that before the year's over. It continues to be dry.
If we keep that around, it is.
And that also was a new budget line with this budget season. We added that so that we could pull it out and see it a little bit more clearly.
This is pretty easy to run.
This is, yeah. It's just making sure that we have accuracy, you know, making sure that
Right.
everything is, you know, all of the journal entries are on par, you know, so, but running the report, I do this
This is nice to look
regularly.
at, even if, especially now,
Yeah,
going forward, because, you know, it starts getting away from us.
I agree.
Right now, like
I don't know what's
47%, it's not too bad, but
Yeah.
looks like there's gonna be some chunks that coming in that's gonna jump this up.
Yeah.
So the thing that strikes me going through everything is that we have repairs and maintenance in all of our capital, like all of our buildings, and including the garage. And at this point, we've spent, for example, 14% of our, and just looking at the very back of the garage repairs and maintenance. So my question, really all through, but specifically here too, is can we just kind of hold on to that? Like, can we not make a lot of big maintenance unless there's something that comes up?
Yeah.
I think we have some money that we
Yeah,
can.
yes.
Yeah,
Because
unless there's an
the first way to
emergency.
get in trouble, the way
Yeah.
Tommy and Gavin have done a good job of mowing.
Yeah.
If it's broken, fix it.
Yeah,
Don't-
absolutely. If there's
don't
an
dick
emergency,
around.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. But if it's like not required, if it's not like, you know, there's a pretty carpet, for example, we don't wanna, I would say no to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's up to you, but it just seems like across the
No,
board,
we're
that's
in the
what.
Yeah.
same path every
I
other
think just
municipality
going forward, we
business.
just need to keep a good eye on it.
Yeah, it's a little good eye.
I think it'd be a good, what's today, it's the end of the month, the end of next month, or whatever,
Every
yeah.
month.
Even if you just bring one to the meeting and say, pass this around,
Right.
this is
Right.
kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Because it's not uncommon, I mean, that's the way they've set it up and it
Mhm.
works here because we may be over here, but we're under there and we'll move it around and we'll
Right.
adjust some more again in December, but
Right,
you can't build a perfect budget and
right.
If it's really easy to run, I'd run one of each meeting. just
Yeah.
go around.
Yeah, I can do that.
Good, dude. And you know,
Yeah, like he said, you know, I don't think you need copies for everybody, but
No.
we just see this number right here.
Yeah, it's a good number, right?
Right.
Phew. I know, going through all of these technical things, but
Yeah.
just knowing
well,
that we're in that.
then you can look back through and see where,
Yeah,
why it jumped up.
Yep.
Not-
Exactly.
right, right.
No, and just, I mean, you do a good job of giving us a heads up, but if you do have a greater blow up or something, just give us a, hey, I'm gonna take a chunk of that 53 that's left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But right now, everything seems to be,
You better knock on wood.
yes,
Mhm.
it doesn't seem like it.
No, I think at this point, that's kind of what I want. I mean, I want to be able to go and just sit down with it and
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Right
say,
through it. see where we're at, what we've got.
no. No, just have to, you know, get some of those hard downpours, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to spend 2,000-3,000
Yeah.
on gravel,
oh,
so,
yeah, yeah.
which will take long.
Yeah.
The way this year's going, you never know.
don't let
No.
there be any downforce. You've already had it, but.
Still a lot of hay out there.
Yep, yep. A lot of half-plowed fields too out there.
No one else gets
Trying to get it off, and
Gravel
it
pits.
won't dry, and it won't dry.
Yeah,
I mean, it won't, ground ain't gonna dry down so thick,
Right.
you know. And all you can do is mow it. Mow it ain't get mowed, not a lot, so.
What else? We done? We done with that?
well, for the roads piece, I don't know if you wanna talk about more of it, I have just sort of highlights that I've noticed to point out, if you wanted to just go through it, but I don't know if Mo needs to go through all of the commons pool and all the other stuff.
I think you guys do a well job, so if any problem, just stop by and
Well, I'll drive by on the way home tonight.
talk about it. That's it for real. Some people might take it wrong.
Take them,
they'll get over
take a
Oh,
cupcake,
no,
no cupcakes?
no, okay, I'll tell you.
You all have to take some cupcakes.
Thank you,
guys
Mel.
later.
See you, Mom.
See ya.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I think if you've got a couple of highlights you want to touch on, but I
Sure.
don't think we need to dwell on this for
I mean,
hours at this point.
yeah, I thought maybe under the select board, you might wanna know that back checks came. Debt retirement, there is the salt shed, the payoff is 54,000 in August on the 23rd of this year.
What line are you on?
So I'm looking at the second page, on, if you go under select board, which is 10.6, all the way down, maybe 10 up from the bottom, it says debt retirement. That's 53,000, that's the salt shed. So we're paying that off this year.
Right, that's what.
So I just wanted to point that out. And then the capital improvement fund, which is down at the bottom, says 30,000. Usually we would want to transfer that in November. So that's just also something to think about. That's when it matures next, I believe. In terms of town office, we're gonna, I think 4 down, the file clerk she'll have more hours during the election that's coming up, so that's why that is low at this point. And in terms of health insurance, we added 1 more person, which is why that piece is high. And the election expenses went out with the town report and the town meeting election, but we have more for the fall. Let's see. You know, everything is looking pretty good in terms of where we are with these budgets. Parcel mapping, so 10.6.25, that actually goes to a different, we have an account number 15, which is for parcel mapping, and that will be transferred, so there's a savings there. I just need to make a journal entry on that.
Where's the town reappraisal?
So that's account number 15, and we have that. So we have other accounts, and I actually have.
Accountant 15, like that's.
So this is the 10 account. The general fund is the 10 account. We have a reappraisal fund, which is not shown on this because it's number 15, and that CD, it's a CD, is $136,000. So,
okay, so what is the anticipated, what's the cost of that for the town?
So I need to go back to the original contract on that. I'm really not sure. I was
But it's
behind
in the
before
ballpark
me.
of 130K?
I'm not sure. I'll have to
Okay.
look it up.
That'd be good to.
The NIMRIC expense is high. It feels pretty high, and it's coming from that fund. So it's
It's a contracted value though,
it's a contract.
so
Yep.
it's
So-
nothing that they can increase or decrease.
No, it's contracted. I think you must have
It's
signed.
not
When
by
do you
the
know when you
hour.
signed that? I must have been last year at some point.
I've been before that even. It's been a while.
I can look it up. But I've been told that that fund is something that we should not touch and just continue to charge to.
Yeah.
And, it's because it's all wrapped up into that contract. Let's see, where are we?
It's interesting, I mean, there'd be an example of, there's a lot of people like that, they have contracts. There's no surcharge, like the Mack truck people
Yeah.
said, oh yeah, Freightliner, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
They're eating those transportation costs, I think.
As I was looking at this, I was thinking it would make sense for us to do a cost analysis of like per parcel, how much it costs per parcel. But that's not something that I've done, so.
I think it would be nice. Was Linda working with them a lot, or who's?
Linda
kind of-
works more than that, yeah, I don't.
If you think of it, add it to your notes. Ask her. They'd give us a update just on status. I mean,
I can do that for sure.
it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
visited half the houses and just another one of those things that we don't hear about until it's something going on.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to change the subject. Do you have any other, flags or concerns or?
No, just going through, just noticing that in the municipal building, there's like a $10,000 capital improvements. Chester's has, there's the buildings. I just want us to remember that there's a lot of money that's kind of rolled into those, and we don't have a capital plan in place, which I know that it's part of our town plan to work on a capital plan, and I've been doing some research on, and part of my training, my budget training was about capital planning. So we at some point should talk about what we wanna do about planning out some of these improvements. Yeah, I think that's about it in terms of where we are. Let's see, what page is this? I can't see. Page 6 of the packet. The appropriations, the community center appropriation is coming out of the warning appropriations, which is, so if you look, the fire department is at the top here, and then the second chunk at 10.6 is appropriations. And the warning appropriations were, a handful of things that the voters voted on individually. The one appropriation that has been transferred has been for the community center to help with their pavilion project. The rest of them we usually do after the taxes are collected, so that's why we haven't expended that yet.
Yep.
And then we're down to highway, so we started there.
It's not as bad as I was expecting to see.
Yeah, on the note of a capital plan, tell me if I'm overreaching, but, I mean, if you could put together just an Excel spreadsheet of, like our buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and then the appropriate, or what we put in the budget,
Mm-hmm.
then we could have a discussion. That could be like the start of our capital. Then we'd label it capital plan, and then we could bring it up at a meeting and say,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good start. There's some thought that, and some, I know that with capital planning, the process, municipal process also includes, public, you have to warn special meetings to look at the proposed capital plan. So it's not just sort of a budgeting thing, it's more of a formal process.
Well, excuse me, I mean,
Yeah.
if it's warned on the agenda for a select board meeting, would
It could
that
work,
means,
yeah.
yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm suggesting is,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to make a big deal of this. I don't want to give you extra work, but is just like put it on an agenda and
Yeah,
we could,
and just hash it out.
and then to include capital plan and then just like equipment, or to help us focus on thinking a little bit, formalizing our allocation for capital resources.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe we even do it like twice a year or something, like we do at the June meeting, and I don't know the best times, but the backhoe, we've had some
Yeah.
kind of seat of the pants, oh, we got a backhoe, and like I think all of us would want to try to, but if especially if you're in this academic setting, if you have recommendations, I don't want to make it onerous.
No, I think that's a great start, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise it just gets kicked down the road, there are
Yeah,
things like this.
we want some visibility to it,
Mhm.
that's all.
And usually capital plans are 3 to 5 years, so you start with where you are, and you think about,
I think we have kind of an unwritten capital plan. I mean,
Right, you
the-
just
the
have
to-
backhoe- The backhoe is I'm the same way, it's kind of, but that's how you get a deal, or,
yeah,
and the rest of the stuff, the trucks are on a schedule, it's not, like I said, maybe we could write it out, but.
right.
Trucks
Equipments
are
are a
on
little
schedule.
different. I mean, the equipment plan and the equipment fund is a separate account and a separate CD. And I do think that you have a pretty solid process around that.
Yeah.
But in terms of
And-
capital improvements with buildings and other things, like incidentals like sidewalks or whatever comes up, I know that that's.
We just bought a backhoe, we can dig the sidewalks up, plant grass, and be done.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, no,
Oh.
so it doesn't have to be too onerous, but
Right, but I think that's the point, is we have a simple plan that's basically, the
Right.
town owns some buildings, if we can let them go empty, they're empty, they'll go to hell, and
Right.
they're blight.
Right.
So it can be as simple, I think, as saying, we wanna continue to keep Chester's and the Old Town Clerks filled and used to some extent, and do some maintenance, like we've talked about with the Old Town Clerks building.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Yeah.
have a big plan.
It's, yeah, it's a whole thing with, you know, there's the investments that people make each year and the approval process around each of these budget line items doesn't really have a guiding anything. So I think what a capital plan would do is just say to the voters, you know, this is actually what we're thinking. You know, so it's
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
a
sure.
good, it's just a good
Let's
way
not
to
make
be
it a big deal,
transparent.
but let's
Yeah,
put it in
transparent.
writing, and we'll
Okay.
just massage it, we'll make it a big deal.
I agree.
Yeah, it'll be a first draft, I'll have a discussion.
Right, it can be a 2-pager, it doesn't have to be.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
It's 2
one
pages,
pager,
yeah.
yeah.
Just something. So there we are, I mean, and then that kind of leads into the common school conversation I was having with you, so I don't know if you want to jump into that.
The common school thing you're talking about?
Yeah,
Do you have are you, just so we're using the agenda, do you have a town administrator report, or are you kind of?
you know, we've gone right through it, the Juware
Okay.
Road, tax
Okay.
anticipation, budget discussion, North Road, so this is really the only
Okay,
other part
good.
on my list. So I gave you all a handout. The thing that is happening as I am just thinking about the common school is that we don't have a clear vision for what we want it to look like. What the ultimate benefit to the community is. It wasn't really defined, you know, strongly, I don't think. I haven't seen a strong vision for what improvements are needed toward that end. We have, you know, some interesting work that's been done in terms of, like, we're going to have our, there are 2 energy bids that we should talk about, energy audit bids, but we also have, you know, there's historic preservation that could be looked at. There's ADA accessibility options that were completed for the building that we haven't done anything with. And I think a lot of it has to do with, we went from the school using it to 2 other entities using it, which is fine, except the school was really doing a lot to make it a place for kids. And we're not really using it the way we could be using it for other purposes. My background is in community development, and the best way to get a project funded is to show that you have buy-in from the community around a certain project. And I think the common school is worth a lot of attention from the community. And my proposal is that we have a real clear, I know it sounds a little touchy-feely, but motivating a community around a project like the community school to come up with a plan for it is solid. It becomes a really good, energizing opportunity for people. So I just see this as a really great opportunity, but we don't have an idea of where we're going, so that would be the question, you know, what ultimately do we want this building to achieve for us? And how are we gonna plan it out over time so that we know in clear, specific, measurable ways that we're moving toward that vision? Because right now, we have 2 entities that are just.
Had a vision that the rec department and historical society are really using it, and
They're using it for storage. I mean, they're not really motivated to, so it's about how do we, like, what, you know, that's true. Like, let's get them together and have a conversation about it. What do they want it to look like, and how do we move forward together on that? You know, I think that they're in there. They're just not,
I think it's a big money pit.
it's not using,
I think we just
Yeah.
went over this.
Yeah.
And I think my thought is let's not dig a bigger grave than we have over there.
none of this time.
Yeah, where I'm a little, and I defer to Dave on this, maybe Ron a little bit, but thanks for the write-up, by the way.
You're welcome.
Ron and I went through it formally when we did the energy audit.
Yeah.
And Dave, I'm sure, knows intimately about it, and you've been over there, but where I get a little, when you start talking about the number of people in this community that have like an emotional connection to the school, you know, and they've been there and their parents want to, because all I see is like Ron said, I just see this dot, you know, this white elephant, and I'm you know, with what we know about like access, you know, like just access, ADA and all that. It's a really intriguing building, but it was built.
And I don't believe it's on the historical survey.
It is. Yep, I did the research. It is.
I would, my direction would be to, let's not go down this road at this point.
Okay.
I think it's, I get it, but given money and all the crazy crap that people are invested in everything. People love their town. Nobody shows up here. People love the rec department. We got 4 people that show up. People love the fire department. We got 15 people that show up.
Yeah.
People love everything when it's not in their backyard. They love their cell phones. They don't want Bakersfield to put a tower in. You know, that's a great idea. I'd love at some point, but
Well, let's like they said, let's hold off on this discussion right now. But I am the reason we kind of the select board kicked off the common school was because, you know, we just know it, and we saw the, you know, here's the proof. You know, the budget, the fuel budget of the common school is already. Yeah, we've spent twice what we budgeted. We budgeted $4,000. We already spent $7,600.
Yeah.
That's why we did the
Right.
energy
Right.
audit. So maybe we'll try to let's hold off on the. We might go to this, but for now let's hold off on that. And let's go to the what are you getting for the bids?
So here's what happened. The state of Vermont has an energy management program which is expanding to municipalities. The energy program, giving you some background, and then I'll get to the point. But because there's an energy management expansion program that is now going to the municipalities. One of our bidders came to us with a level 2 audit. I'm learning as I go. A level 2 audit is what the state of Vermont has approved for all of the state facilities. And
Approved and funded?
Approved and funded.
Oh, okay.
And there is grant money called the SURF grant, which is new and is more and more is coming out daily right now. So that money is available for energy efficiency. And what that grant requires is that you show how much you've spent on energy and how much can be saved on energy and how much you predict this project is going to cost. So they want to see the turnaround. Dubois and King came to us with a level 2 audit which would fulfill all of those requirements.
Dubois and King?
Dubois and King. The level 2 audit which would fulfill all of the requirements for this project because they're one of 3 in the state who has been doing this for the state. So theirs is high. It's high bid and it would fulfill all of the requirements for this process. That's what they read when they looked at the RFP. They read it. And Brian and I worked on this one together. And then we received another bid from Energy Co-op of Vermont. And the Energy Co-op of Vermont would be doing just a basic level 1 energy audit, and those are about $500. They bid $600. So between the two, one does what's required to show you some basic how you can save money on heat and electricity. They don't go into detail in terms of all of the ASHRAE level 2 things that this group does. But they would give us a basic overall picture of what we're doing.
So what's the number on this one?
This one is $5,950. So it's 600 or 5,000, almost 6,000.
Yeah, it's a totally.
So it's like a
not
totally
apples to
different, it's not apples to apples. I have a call into Energy Co-op of Vermont to get more information about what their audit entails. And I did talk to Du Bois and King today, and they gave me the information that I just explained to you. Both are qualified, both do have a track record, both are certified. They're just doing something different. So. And I
Yeah,
did,
and
yeah.
and the energy co-op, $600 would be $600 out of our fund.
Mhm.
And what you're implying is the Du Bois and King, 5,000 would be ultimately paid for by the state. Is that right?
It would be something that would, no, I don't think it would be paid for by the state. I think that the results would allow us to get grants to pay for the renovations that would be required with the audit results.
Can,
So the
can-
audit, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to ask that you either email or, I'd like to table this discussion. I'd like to read what you got
Mhm.
so that we can take action at the next meeting, or at least I could have an informed discussion.
Sure.
You know, read through the,
I'd like to know the extra, we're talking about energy audits, windows and insulation. What about ADA, bathrooms?
No,
That's a different-
Yeah, let's not,
No, I know it's different, but
let's not. We'll talk.
we don't wanna go there.
I'll tell you
Yeah, so
later. We're,
we did do a study,
yeah.
so that's something that has been done.
No, I'm just worried about somebody coming in.
I agree.
let's have this discussion.
well, I do know one thing, you know, we went through a little fire, and you touch a building, and you pull a permit for, you know, construction, you gotta do the whole shebang. You gotta like bring it up to code, you gotta do, like ADA and all, I don't know from a municipal side, but I suspect we start,
That discussion, and that building will be a blight for 20 years until we tear it down.
well, what I'm saying, it almost, there's an obligation, you can't kinda do incremental improvements and stuff when you start.
But there's not enough income to justify
No.
using that building. I will be the one to
Yeah.
make a motion to take it down.
Yes.
It's beautiful, it's wonderful, but it's a waste of time and money.
Yeah, and then we gotta figure out if we're gonna continue to heat it, you know, that's kind of the,
And that's kind of I guess that, we're there. That's my point with the plan, is to not have blight in the town, right? The 2 buildings that we own, the 3 buildings actually, one we rent for $1 for a lifetime lease, 2 we rent for minimal to nothing. We forgive the rent during Corona or COVID and all that crap, because we have people in them. They're upkept, they're clean, they're decent. I don't know if you guys remember, but 30 years ago, there was a blight in the middle of town right here. I grew up with an old falling down hotel that was,
Oh,
you know, as a kid, we climbed in it. It's amazing we didn't die because of the spiders and rotten floors. And that's why it's,
Yeah, we don't wanna.
keep it simple.
Yeah.
You know, the minute you go big, it's great, it's wonderful. Everybody loves to, like I said, they love everything, but nobody wants to pay for that building.
yeah, so the other part, it would make more sense to also find out what the reappraisal value is. I don't know where we are with that, but if we're doing a community-wide reappraisal, does that fall into?
There's no bearing, there's no tax value to it. And
If we're looking at options, like.
you can't sell it because it's part of the school, it's part of the town. We own the soccer fields, the baseball fields,
Gotcha.
we own the road that goes around it. It's not really a conveyable piece of.
Gotcha.
I agree, I mean, that's my 2 cents, not anybody else's, but it's the reality of it. If we wanna be a town that doesn't have a crap load of debt, the minute we put $1 million into that building to make it usable,
Right.
there's,
Yeah, I don't
there's
think we
nothing, I
can.
mean, yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
it's just a big money pit.
yeah.
It is at the exact same time, and I hear you and I agree.
I think we got other spaces, and even in this building, like downstairs and stuff, that could be used.
We are using
Yeah.
actually for.
So
historical
I like
purposes.
your idea. I would be curious if you don't mind following up with them so we can have because I don't know. I don't have time or care to dig into that a whole lot.
Yeah,
Maybe next month.
I'd like to read that. I mean, I'm sure you got my,
And I'll get information.
yeah,
from-
please get me that at
Yeah.
your convenience, and
Okay.
I will read it, and we'll have a discussion.
I'd be curious just to know, we give them $5,000, what do we get? Do we get?
Yeah,
them
yeah, that's what I'm fascinated.
Yeah, it is pretty extensive and.
Yeah,
I've learned a
I'd
lot
be
just
happy to
by
read
reading
that
through
and
it.
report
Yeah,
back.
Great,
You know, if it's in a email or PDF, send it, I'll read through it, but I just,
Yeah.
no problem.
my life is not.
I know, there are lots of grants for historical building improvements.
Yeah, you know,
It requires a grant writer and some research and some strict strategy and some planning. So if we're not in that place, then we really should go there, you know?
Yeah.
We don't, even have a grant writer at this point.
Well,
So-
this couple over here, they're doing a great job
I don't
on
know,
this,
across the
but it's,
street.
I'm impressed with
Yeah.
the level of effort. I mean, that's,
They have received tax credits and all kinds of money as well.
wow.
So,
They're
again,
gonna need
like, you have to go incrementally with all of these projects to see what kind of monies are
Right.
available for this kind of stuff. But if we're not there, then we're not there,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I'm in year
Let's-
one of my jobs.
Let's
We're
end
not-
that conversation.
That's fine.
Okay,
And that was it for me. I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that's not true. I do have a agreement with the fire department that we need to sign tonight. You approved the amount for their ARPA funding last week, the number, and then you just signed the warrants, which this payment was included in. I just need a signature at this point, and then we can issue them a check. So, and it was gonna be Tom, but now I just gonna give this over to whoever wants it, I guess.
One of you guys needs to sign it, cause I'm on the fire department, I'm gonna cash the check.
did you wanna talk about staffing contingencies, or is that something?
If you want to, I mean, we keep pushing it down, but it has to do with, the COVID is a real thing, sickness is a thing, we all, like, even just tonight, we see how it affects us, and we don't have a real solid plan for backup.
Right,
Like for me, there's no backup for the town administrator. We have all of these financial policies and practices that we have to adhere to, and then if you take one of us out of it, that we just don't have a plan for that. So at some point, we really should address that.
right.
And it may just require upping somebody's responsibilities or changing the way we view staffing. I don't know how you would want to address it, but at some point we would want to. I know that, like, for example, this winter overtime was high, for example, at the garage, and that was completely correlated to sick time. So we're up in both of those areas. Similarly, it's just a question, what do we do if? What do we do if?
And that's the question every small business, which is
Right.
what we are, does. I mean,
Right.
it took you a year to figure out, this report's not hard to run now, wherever it is.
Right, no,
because,
it's not.
because you've done it
How
a
to
dozen
fix
times.
it, yeah, exactly.
Payroll isn't
Right.
hard now, because
Right.
you've done it a dozen
Right.
times.
And we do have, our treasurer, she doesn't look at the invoices. She does approve the warrants. She reviews the lists that you read. And she answers some good questions that I have sometimes. She'll give me some really good answers. But we also have a file clerk these are other options in terms of who's on first with things. And I think part of it is just to identify who's on first with contingency planning. I don't think we have to add more staff. I just think we need to identify what that looks like. Because we haven't, there's nobody.
Right, but at the same time, in a HR setting, not everybody is HR capable, or,
Right, it's true.
Well, I don't know if, I don't know if this is like an executive session, because maybe we should be talking about individuals and like their interest and their ability, and like what is required, and some kind of a recommendation. So So I really think I think we should have some depth, and we should, if we have to pay like in advance, you know, for some training, to have some people dual hatted. And I'm really uncomfortable, like, saying the town clerk should backfill the.
Right.
I don't know that there's a minefield there,
Right.
but I think we all would support, given that you did some things that were really out of your comfort zone during the whole COVID thing to get in here. You know, that was awkward for all of us, certainly for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we are very grateful, you know, that you took one for the team.
Yeah.
And you know,
I would
got
get-
people paid.
Right, absolutely.
And so I think I don't think we're in a position to, like, the select board, even the three of us here are gonna say, we think this,
Right.
you know, this is the solution. But I think financially, we would, you know, I think we should be trying to strive towards, you know, paying for training, and for someone to say, here's a hack, or, you know, maybe there's a select board member that says, hey, I'll take, you know, that maybe, you know, I'll get checked out on how to push the button, you know, make sure people get paid. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think I would even be thinking about it if I hadn't. It was after that week where I was like, you know, what happens? What happens if
So,
I'm in the
I mean,
hospital? What
obviously,
happens, you know?
your predecessor
That's something.
could be someone that we could say,
If she's interested, but that's
no,
again, it goes to
I'm
like,
saying Jonathan.
oh, yeah,
We could say, hey,
If
Jonathan,
he's
you're
not.
our contingency,
right,
you're on standby,
right.
and we're gonna have a retainer for, you know, and like I
If
said,
he's
I don't wanna,
interested.
yeah, if
like,
he's
it's that
interested,
whole-
but
it's that whole
but
discussion.
like we could even do a collaborative thing that says, you know, well, what's another town, what is, you know, maybe it's Bakersfield has a, you know, could you think about what you think is a reasonable contingency plan, and then maybe we'll have a conversation. But I think everyone would agree, the select board would, we want to address this.
Okay.
I mean, because we want to make sure, as an example, we want to make sure people get paid. I mean, that isn't, so, you know, maybe it's a, you know, pay data. I don't know the solution, but I'm wondering what other towns are doing to address it. And, you know, like, we're not the only people that have struggled with this, I'm sure.
And obviously, I wouldn't want. I mean, none of this should cost more. It should reduce. It should reduce the uncertainties and have a predictable, you know, thought process. So, but I don't see that goes hand in hand with more money thrown at it. It's not something about money. It's more about just.
Well,
It
that's
might,
good.
yeah.
That's
you
good.
know, okay. Do
But
you agree that? That's,
sometimes, you know,
okay.
I don't think we addressed anything, but maybe you heard our intent, and we
Yeah.
can
I can write something down and give it to you. and
or
see
talk
what
to your
goes
colleagues,
down.
maybe, you know, the Vermont League in Cities and something.
Well, I think the keep it simple, stupid
Yeah,
applies a
right.
lot.
I totally agree.
Right.
I'm thinking like one line somewhere in the.
The person
Really?
we need at that currently and that best fits for the next 2 years, we know who that is. And it would probably behoove us to reach out as a board and say, would you be willing to do this? Because
See, I think that there are two people, actually, who could do this.
there's one that's trained though and knows the
Both of
system.
them are trained. Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, not
They-
good.
I mean,
Okay, I'll tell you what.
there are ways that we could do this. It's just-
Maybe we could.
But it's
people's-
keep it stupid, right? Because
Yeah.
we have two people who are trained
Right.
on staff.
Right. And one
So-
person who's willing and eager to do something different. If we
Okay,
wanted to.
how about, Dave, what do you think if we make a motion to approve the minutes and to approve the warrants, and then you wanna go in executive session to talk about, like, that issue, or you wanna
Yes.
kick that
Yes.
down the road?
No, I wouldn't mind going quickly, just.
Okay,
'cause-
so I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes that were dated 13 June. I didn't see any corrections. 13 June.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then,
I'd
you wanna
like-
do warrants as
I
well?
make a motion to approve the warrants that we've reviewed and dated 6/20 through, 6/20.
6/20 for payroll and then 6/27 for,
6/27.
Payroll. Ron,
Yeah, I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we go in executive session for the purposes of talking about a personnel issue.
thank you.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye. We're going in executive session.